Morning glory and evening grace, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt on this Friday to really top all Fridays, and I could not be happier with the person who's leading off the week that really mattered a lot than former Secretary of State, former Director of the CIA, former Congressman Mike Pompeo. Mr. Secretary, welcome back to the Hugh Hewitt Show. It's great to see you. I'm just going to open it up. What do you make of what happened in the 12-day war, both for the Israeli side and, of course, our side?
Hugh, thanks for having me on. It's great to be back with you. The best thing one can say is the truth, which is that Iran is fundamentally crippled between the efforts of Israel and the work that the United States military did under the leadership of President Trump. We have severely set back their nuclear program in spite of all the details that remain unknown. Their program is in a much more difficult place today, and their leadership is scattered. And the weakness of their proxies abroad, all of that means that they are further from being able to threaten the world with a nuclear weapon than they have been in an awfully long time.
Mr. Secretary, you studied Iran both in the Congress, at the agency, and at state. Are you surprised by how weak they were in both defending themselves and in projecting strength against Israel? They really were a paper tiger upon close examination.
Hugh, there's this old saw that says the Iranians have never won a war and never lost a negotiation. I have believed
Yeah.
that ever since I started looking at this problem set. I remember when we were preparing to take the strike against Soleimani, there were some, including some in the intelligence community, who thought, oh my goodness, they'll do all of these bad things to us. There'll be World War III. I was convinced that there was not much behind the Islamic Republic of Iran's leadership that would be able to actually deliver a decisive blow. And in that event, I turned out to be right. And in this one, President Trump turned out to be right. He was able to do this with relative impunity, and their capacity to strike back against us has proven to be not zero. They injured some folks in Al Assad Air Base after the Soleimani strike. They took a pretend strike against our facility at Al Udeid. They may well still have some assets somewhere they can do something, but their ability to actually reshape the conflict has proven to be just absolutely minimal. I am unsurprised by that.
Now, what is the impact, do you think, Mike Pompeo, on the regime? Not just the Ayatollah. He's 86 years old, he's isolated, he's a little bit off his rocker, but the fanatics one level down and the leadership that's left at the IRGC, are they looking at each other and wondering who's working for Mossad? And do you think this regime might crack and fall?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I am sure they're all being a little more careful who they speak to, not having any idea which one of them are actually Israeli operatives. And who knows, it may be all of them, or most of them, or many of them. I think they have to take that on board. They are clearly going to be more fractured. They're clearly going to be humbled. They may brag or they may exhibit some bravado, but they know in their hearts that they still sit vulnerable, that the Israelis could fly over their home tonight and make them go away. And so I'm hopeful that this will create enough uncertainty, enough place that some element of the Iranian people will decide this is our moment and reshape Iran in a way that brings it back and does what President Trump talked about in his True Social a bit ago, which is back into the world social order. They're great peoples, and they deserve to have that.
Now, Mr. Secretary, you got the Abraham Accords going with President Trump in the first term. How rapidly do you think they can expand in terms of signatories? Obviously, the big one is the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, but beyond that, do you think they could grow quickly?
Yes, I think it's possible to to roll the table in that sense. Uh, Everyone likes to be with a winner, right? The strong horse. This is the model for the Middle East, and we've clearly demonstrated over not just the last 12 days, but frankly for years, and certainly after October 7th, we have demonstrated that the winners here, the strong horse here, is the West. The United States and Israel, and not the Chinese, the Russians, and the Iranians. Who wants to be with those losers? I think you will begin to see other nations at least tacitly acknowledging Israel's right to exist, and I am hopeful in the months ahead, many of them formally acknowledging that, which was the core piece of what became the Abraham Accords.
All right, Mr. Secretary, before you were anything else, you're a soldier, West Point guy, and so you've been studying war and worried about war for a long time. What do you think after the Ukrainian attack deep into Russia using drones and infiltration, and the Israeli attack using drones and infiltration in Iran? What do you think our vulnerability is here in the United States to pre-positioned assets like that?
I worry about it. I've worried about this kind of thing for a long time. We've seen these lone wolf attacks. They're never really a lone wolf. There's always someone who out there provided some material support. Uh, there is this real risk here in the United States, especially in light of the fact that we've just had these crazy wide open borders for 4 years. We know that people on our terror watch list in the hundreds came across. Our FBI and our intelligence community will do their best. But yeah, if you ask me, Mike, do you think there's a chance that the Iranians or someone else could use this moment to conduct attack here in the homeland? Maybe not at the scale of what the Ukrainians pulled off in Russia or the Israelis did with the beepers, but something that caused a really bad day for the United States. I think that risk is very real. And all law enforcement, state, local, federal, and all the intelligence community need to be mindful of that risk. And I hope they're out rounding up every one of these last Iranians who came across in the last 4 years.
Now, Mr. Secretary, I took the cameras out to Langley when you were director, and you sat down with me, a very kind interview when I was working for NBC, and you told me not to worry about our ability to strike people with cyber warfare, that we had certain things on the shelf, and you left it at that. It was classified. Are you surprised the Iranians could not do anything cyber against the Israelis? I mean, nothing that we know about, whereas the Iranian bank went down and their Federal Reserve effectively went down. Were you surprised that they were impotent?
Uh, no, but I also wouldn't rule out that they still don't have something latent somewhere that they may decide to use at some point. But the ability to do that at scale is something that it's not, I take no credit for this. That the United States and the Brits and our friends in the West have been working to defend against for an awfully long time. We've become pretty good at defending against at-scale attacks. It doesn't mean that something won't happen this afternoon or tomorrow, but we've been tracking this program along with our Israeli partners for a long time, and I'm not surprised that in the moment they weren't able to execute an at-scale cyber attack. We don't let our guard down. Don't think for a moment that the regime doesn't still have the exact same intention it had 13, 14, 15 days ago, which is the little Satan and the great Satan should go away. They'll stay at it until the Iranian people ultimately decide they've had enough. And when that day comes, then we can begin to say, nope, we finally taken down all, or at least nearly all, of the risk from Iran.
Now, a different kind of question, Mr. Secretary. Are you surprised at the acting ability of the president? Because he suckered me, he suckered the whole world, he suckered the Iranians into believing that nothing was going to happen a week ago tonight. Are you amazed by that?
This is a man who had a top-rated television show for an awfully long time for a reason, Hugh. Yeah, I'm not surprised at his ability to do that. He is very capable in the fine arts of communication. There's no doubt about that, and did a remarkable job. And importantly, kept our airmen safe as a result of that really good work.
All right, last question, Mike Pompeo. Looks like the Senate and House are going to pass a big plus up in defense. And NATO has now promised to go to 5%. All that spending, great. What should we be spending it on? Do we need more carriers, or do we have to shift the face of supply to the Pentagon, a completely new weapon set, and get outside of the box we've been in for 70 years, 80 years now?
Hugh, I'm a former armor officer. Should all go to building M1 tanks. Yeah, look, the reality is we can see warfare has changed pretty significantly. We're watching what's happened in Ukraine. We know the tyranny of distance in the Pacific. I actually think we probably still need big stuff too. You saw what the B-2s did. That's a big boy project. But we need lots more entrepreneurs doing all kinds of things, drones, other forms of unmanned equipment. We certainly need to make sure we can fly in contested electronic warfare zones as well. So there's tech work, and the advent of AI is going to even change this more. We need to make sure that we are not relying just on the big 3, 4, 5 defense contractors. They are big and powerful, but they are also slow and insufficiently innovative. And it is lovely to see American investors now in the tech world saying, we want to be part of Team America, where for years, you know, Hugh, they weren't willing to do that because they were afraid of their own workforce. I think those days are behind us, and that is wonderful, and it makes me feel much safer for me and my family.
Secretary Mike Pompeo, thank you for being back. I look forward to checking in with you in a few months. Thank you for taking some time on this Friday with me.
You bet, Hugh. Have a good weekend, sir.
You too. I want to tell everyone now that we'll post that up so people can follow that. All M1 tanks makes me laugh. All right, that just makes me laugh. But we got a lot coming up today. We've got, of course, Matt Continetti at the bottom of the hour. I will be talking with Matt about everything. This is the most crucial week of, I think, probably the last since 2003 and the invasion of Iraq. It is up there with the most crucial weeks of my life, and I'm 69 years old. I've been studying and following this since I worked for Richard Nixon in 1978, 79, and 80. Been doing deep dives in national security. To change the calculus of the world in 1 week is extraordinary. And Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu and their respective governments and our militaries combined have done that. It's a week to celebrate, a weekend to celebrate. I'll be right back. America, stay tuned. It's the Hugh Hewitt Show on this Friday.
The Hugh Hewitt Show is now available on TV. Go to SalemNewsChannel.com or download the app. You can also watch on Roku and Fire Stick. Salem News Channel, the antidote to the mainstream media.